Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to the Intuitive Healing channel on Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sara Jane, your hostess, and I am delighted for this program this evening, because it is evening actually where we are, to be joined by Angelina Kedge. Angelina, thank you so much for joining me for the program today.
Oh, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. The program this evening, Angelina is going to be sharing about Zygon Healing with the Sirians. Now, this is as in Sirius. So for anybody that's thinking, Sirians, it's as in Sirius. So, so just to clear that one up for anybody that might be feeling confused. A little bit about Angelina. She is the creator of Zygon Healing. As a light worker and empath, Angelina Kedge has over 35 years experience as an intuitive energy healer, complementary therapist, channeler, light language, tutor, and group facilitator. There have been several threads which have run through her life, experiencing neglect and poverty, consciousness during her my apologies, never the best of readers, and poverty consciousness during her childhood, having had 111 physical and mental health conditions. I was 111. It could be whatever it needs to be. Health conditions, and having brought up a special needs child as a chronically ill single parent. During most of her life, she developed her psychic and healing abilities and created rainbow healing and founded the Cosmic Rainbows Healing Center in 2003 to 2011. During her lifetime, she has learnt emotional resilience, to face all challenges as an opportunity for growth, and to love people unconditionally. Angelina, thank you so much for joining and for sharing about this, because this is something new to me. So I know I'm going to be learning from the program this evening as well. And I know we've got Barbara here. She says, hi, Angelina, looking forward to your webinar. So please share a little of your story and how you come to be working with the Zygon Healing and those from Sirius.
Yes, it's been a very, very challenging journey, I would say, generally from my early childhood. I had a sort of drip feed, I would say, of like poverty consciousness, as well as degrees of deprivation. I was sort of brought up with a feeling of really not being heard. Both my parents brought me up with a sense of being seen but not heard. And I think that generally left me feeling as if I didn't really have a place in the world. I didn't seem to have any ability to be able to speak or express myself, or to have any sense of myself, really. I don't think I really developed very easily in those first sort of few years. And another, I would say, thread that runs through was being ill. I've had a lot of illness. I started off with having a very severe case of scarlet fever when I went on holiday to Germany, and I was out there and I caught it there. And since that time, really compromised my immune system, which meant that I seem to remember just having so many infections and illnesses that followed in my teens and in my 20s, and then that followed right through into my life. So I would say even the 111 sort of health conditions that I've had, they sort of range from like excessive dandruff right through to having more serious conditions like asthma and osteoporosis, and also ME and EDS and arthritis and all sorts of things like that. I think another thing from my childhood that I had that was also quite challenging was that my mother was very domineering and very controlling. And it would appear from that I just wasn't in a place to really be myself. It was almost as if I totally lost myself. And I never really managed to be who I wanted to be. there was always some kind of a put down, you know, like be quiet or don't be a nuisance or something. And it was repetitive. I mean, it was really quite a lot of this that I was sort of receiving all the time. And it left me with very low self-esteem, a great sense of lack of self-worth. But I think one of the main themes that I think I've now reached in my journey now is that I think all this time I've been trying to find myself, because I wasn't really given the opportunity to ever be myself from a very early age. And having lost myself, my whole journey has been about finding who I am. And in that process, I think partly also having all these illnesses, I've gone into sort of the journey of self-healing. I started off in a very physical kind of way with all the physical illnesses. And then it moved from that into looking at my emotions, and then looking at my belief systems, and then looking at my spirit. And then that was really the culmination of all the complementary therapies that I've actually done. And it's culminated in the Zygon Healing, which is what I do now.
Oh, so I think so many people can sort of resonate. Now, Barbara's actually said that you're sounding very quiet. So sort of it's just not that we're asking you to shout, but just be aware, because I know some of us can talk very quietly and some of us can be much louder. It's just being aware, because I don't think there's any way you can turn your mic up, is there?
There isn't, no, but I'll speak louder now.
Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. So the Zygon Healing, can you share, what is it?
Absolutely. It's sort of, in a nutshell, I would say that it's a form of energy healing, and it comes from the group of Zygons who come from Sirius. They call themselves the Zygon Council of 10. And it's basically an energy healing that they give. But what's fascinating about it is that they use their Zygon machine. Now, this Zygon machine, it sort of looks like a black box. And there's sort of the cosmic energy or the universal energy that comes through a hole at the top. And then at the top part, there's lots of sort of dials and knobs and buttons and things, which they use to choose the different energies that can come through. The energy comes all the way through, and then it's given to the person. So this can be basically a very fine line of energy, like a laser beam of energy, or it can be a very wide area, which is what they can give as an energy that they might give to the whole of the aura or the whole of your being. This energy can also be fine-tuned so that it's given for a certain number of minutes, and also a certain intensity as well. So the types of energies that they offer, things like batch flower remedies, colour energy, sound energy, things like supplements. They can even bring through qualities like love, trust, security, and they can even bring through places of nature as well. So basically they can bring any kind of energy through, but this is the system that I've sort of built up with them, alongside them. It's a fascinating healing to receive. I've been receiving it now for myself over 2 years, and up until then I think my journey of ill health had taken me to sort of like 15% capacity at one point. I was virtually housebound. I was housebound and virtually bedbound at a certain part of that journey. And at that point, I'd say I had about 15 to 20%. I did so much to try and help myself, all different kinds of healings that I received. I was communicating with the angels and channeling from them, and I would get certain, lots of different healings from them as well. I'd have healing from other people, and nothing really seemed to work. And I was so puzzled, and I couldn't really understand this. The effort that I've put into trying to get well has been remarkable, really. And what I found was I managed to sort of, before the Zygons came along, to get to about, I'd say about 40%, something like that. And literally just in the first year that I was with them, I went from about 40% to about 70% with all this wonderful healing that they've been giving. And the other thing that is fascinating about it as well is that they work very much in looking at the quantumness of ourselves, the quantum healing. And that's what's really quite fascinating. So they've explained to me that when we want to heal ourselves, that we have to be sort of in alignment, really, to the idea that we can actually heal ourselves. So the more that we're in a position to be able to have that in our own consciousness, the belief that we can get well, the belief that we can actually heal ourselves. And then what the Zygons can do is they just give the healing, and you're much more likely then to heal yourselves if you're in alignment with it. They enjoy very much healing people on a physical level, but they will do anything at all. So what they can do, not just give energy, but they can also take energy out as well. And they do that with a machine by using different filters. And the filters are put in place so that they can actually home in. Let's say if they want to give healing to, let's say it's the blood vessels or something like that, your blood vessels will be vibrating at a certain vibration. So they put these filters in so that they are simply just honing in on that particular vibration. And then they're in a position to be able to heal whatever part of the body that might be. And another thing that they can do with the filters as well, equally, is energy that's in the aura. So they can look at thought forms and take thought forms out. They can also take out memories from your past, and they can also do past lives and take those out. They also look at the DNA, and they're in a position also to be able to strengthen and stabilise that as well, so that it doesn't get sort of like switched into different illnesses.
No, so interesting, but it's so much that they can bring, and the bringing in of the energies of the different things. As they said, the back flower and all the oils and everything. That's amazing. It really is. But I think to me the interesting thing is because it's that thing of, I'm not a healer. I can offer you the energy that can empower your own self-healing. And if you are not prepared to participate in your own self-healing, then we're not saying the energy won't do anything for you, but you're not going to get the best out of it. So it's really, really important and if participating in it means believing in it, then yes, because I'm the only one who can heal me. It doesn't mean, though, that I don't require a little bit of support and energy through others to empower that. And so I get that's the sense I'm getting from what you're saying, is that it's like when you channel Reiki, you bring that energy through. It's up to the individual to accept it and what they do with it. I feel you're saying exactly the same with what the Zygons bring, is that it's about offering the energy to somebody, but you are asking people, please participate in this process.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of my early experiences was not really appreciating that. And I was sort of going to sort of therapists and saying almost, please fix me, please fix me. And to some degree, I would say there was a degree of healing that occurred, even though I was in that kind of mindset. But one of the journeys and what I've needed to learn was that, in fact, true healing will come when you're in a position to be able to put everything into it that you possibly can for yourself. I think there was a time when I wasn't really in a position to be able to go out to have any kind of therapy. I wasn't able to get therapists coming to visit me either. And I think what I had to really concentrate on was then all the different kinds of self-care that exists. So it wasn't just the healing that I was getting from the Zygons, but it was really learning how to look after myself. Mm-hmm. What can I do in terms of energy that is also going to supporting me? And I think that's something that is a big lesson for everybody really to move into, because if you can get into that place where you really recognise that the healing that's being given to you, it's just really, it's like a catalyst really for your own healing. And the more that you can get into that alignment, then the more you will actually heal yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh no, it it's something I understand, but I didn't realize I understood. Because
Sure.
I remember sitting on the stairs at home thinking, and this was quite a few years ago before I started with sort of with Reiki and everything. So sort of it was just like, what can I learn for me? I knew all my past history, whatever. I can't learn massage because you can't massage yourself. But I hadn't realized, I think, that I'd put it up like a prayer. Um, and Reiki was brought to me within a very short period of time. The first person you treat is yourself. And I love the fact that what you're saying is that you are working with the Zygons. They are working with you and they are supporting you on your healing journey. And that's really important because for me, I understand that my healing journey is then how I support others along their own healing journey. And so you're very much working with them for yourself, but I take it that you're also working with others with this.
Yes, absolutely. Um, Maybe I could share a little bit about how it all started, really, because it's quite an interesting experience. Um, I had a friend come to me and she was doing some space clearing. And she said, "Well, I don't know if you realise, but there's sort of like an ET line that's running through your property." I had the presence of mind at the time to sort of record everything that she was saying because it was just seemed so important to do so. And we sort of established between us that it was like the Sirians. And to me, it was something that, because I've always contacted the angels up until that time and other guides and light beings, but not sort of ET. So it was something that was something that was really surprising for me to have this happen. So a few days later, I started to communicate with them. And what's fascinating is that they said that there was a group of Sirians back when I was about 25. This is when I had a really bad virus. And what had happened was that there was a group of these Sirians who were very advanced technologically, but not spiritually. And what they wanted to do was to see what would happen if they unleashed a virus on this planet. That's exactly what they did. And I caught this particular virus. And I was very, very ill with it, extremely ill. And it was sort of like a bit like Epstein-Barr. It's a little bit like a retrovirus. And that particular virus was sort of in my body, in my immune system, because it had already been compromised, wasn't able to clear it. And they just keep coming up all the time. And what they did when they first came to me was to explain that they were wanting to give me healing. They were profusely sorry about what had happened. And they felt that they were wanting to give me healing. They wanted, it was all going to be a big experiment with this machine. It's the first time they've ever used it on this planet. They didn't know whether it was going to be working or not. And I was obviously very open to have this healing from them to see what would happen. So I had some just amazing experiences with this particular type of healing. Things which, for instance, I had a retina tear, and I'd only been contacting them for about 2 weeks, and I suddenly thought, what if they could do something? So they said, of course we can, and this is what we would do. It will take 5 days, and we'll give you healing every single day. And they gave me visions of how they were doing the healing. So I could see this little tear there, and they literally put it back. They took away the inflammation, and they used the laser beam to sew it up, basically, to laser it together. And then they sort of put some more energy in to take away all this sort of inflammation. They said, if you have it looked at, you won't, no one will be able to see it. There's nothing there now. It's completely healed. And I did have it looked at by the opticians, and they couldn't find anything there whatsoever. So that's an example of the type of healing that they can do. Soon after that happened, I realised that I was going to be writing a book. So I recorded every single conversation that I had with them for over a year. And I also recorded all the healing that I also received. And it wasn't until about 6 months in that I then realised that I would then be offering this type of healing to other people, that I would be in a position to be able to support other people in their own healing. What they love to do specifically is obviously heal the physical body, but what they really like to do is to help people who have like a calling, people who perhaps are starseeds or light workers, where they have a calling, where they have incarnated here so that they are going to be supporting the planet in some way to raise the vibration of the planet. And that is really their purpose. That's the reason why they have come, to help individuals to be able to realise their purpose, their life's purpose. So, for example, if somebody has a chronic illness, in fact, I have a friend at the moment, she's a singer-songwriter, and she would absolutely love to be able to get out there to do her work and so on, but she's not in a position to be able to. It's a really good example because she's got chronic illnesses. So what the Zygons will help is to support that person so that they can become well, so they're in a position to then be able to work in service to the planet. The other thing they love to do is looking at lifestyle. They're always talking about balance. There's been many a time when they've said to me, they're over here actually, and they say to me about balancing one's life. And at the same time, if you're wanting to raise your own vibration, then you're looking at everything that you do in your life as well. You know, what we're connecting with, what we're putting into our bodies, how we are connecting with the mass consciousness and things of this nature. So I've learned a huge amount about that and about lifestyle and how important it is, if it's going to be enhancing your total well-being, for example. There's various other things that they really like to do to help us, but those are the main things really. The experiences that I've had also with the Zygon Healing is mirrored very much in the clients that I've seen also. So there's been quite remarkable results actually from other people who have actually received it. And it's just amazing actually. It's quite a remarkable form of healing. And it's just amazing that it's, you know, our planet is ready, if you like, for this to happen. And it's ready for this now, this type of healing to be here. And it really just takes the person themselves to be receptive to it, to be able to be in a position where they can sort of expand their mind a little bit with the idea of actually being supported by an ET, you know, and then obviously to work so well if they are also in a position to be able to take their own responsibility for their own healing as well.
Question, because for some people, the illnesses, the ailments, etc., are the body actually trying to say that there is something from your earlier life, and for some people it might be past life, but we'll stick to earlier life, that it's the experiences that you had, the hurt, the pain, the trauma as a child, that, because the way I look at it is children have no idea how to deal with those situations. And I see our solar plexus as like a well that we chuck everything that we don't know how to deal with, or as we get older, we do, oh, I haven't got time to deal with that now, I'll come back to it later, and we never do. And it's really important to be able to heal those things. However, as the child has never been in a position to be able to heal that, because there has just been no know-how at all. With children, we just don't have it. But it's still there, and it's still, I'm thinking about everything you went through, the traumas I went through as a child, etc. We didn't know how to deal with that, but then it comes back, and it come back, and if you don't listen to the gentle nudges, it will come back and bite you. And it's your body, your body speaking to you, that is it's trying to speak to you and say, this something is ready for healing. So different areas of your body can mean different things, but they're talking very much about the physical. But do they get involved then in the emotional and the mental aspects? Because obviously with trauma, there wasn't just the physical, there was emotional and mental as well.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think for my own childhood, I certainly had quite a lot of trauma. It was more sort of like a drip feed of everything, I would say. There's one incident that I do remember having when I was 3, and it left me very emotionally scarred. I had an accident and I rushed into the kitchen to see my mum, and I was crying, there's blood everywhere. And she was really cross with me because I'd done something that in her eyes was wrong. And I actually wanted to have a cuddle, and she didn't ever really cuddle me. I wanted the lollipop, you know. I wanted to be reassured. I wanted to be comforted, and I didn't. Instead, I got punishment. And that was sort of like the start of my trauma, I would say, for me, because what that taught me was that you can be ill or that you can be hurt and you're not loved. And in a sense, for me, there was a lot of that followed, sort of like being punished, being put down. And there was also a lot of rejection. The deprivation, I would say, comes into this as well. There's a degree of that. My parents were lovely people, but I just don't think they knew what parenting was about, you know. I liken it a little bit like we weren't a family. It was a little bit like they were 2 people that were married, and then there was myself and my brother that sort of tagged along. You know, it was like that for most of what I can remember of my early childhood anyway, at least up till about the age of about 12 or 13. And it's left scars, you know, really deep emotional scars. And what I've found, sort of like you're saying, the connection, if you like, between the body and the emotions and the mental thoughts that we have, I've very much gone into the deep understanding of the connections with all of this really now. And what the Zygons do is they like to be able to connect this up. So during a session, if somebody comes with something that's physical, what they usually do is to, through the inspiration of them sort of channeling from them, I will bring through the thought forms of what is actually being held in the body and what emotions are actually being held in that part of the body as well. And the thought forms can be absolutely anything. I mean, they can be the usual ones like, I don't feel good enough, I feel misunderstood, I don't feel I'm being heard, I feel unloved, to something really much more specific than that. Real specific ones like money doesn't grow on trees or something like that. If somebody is trying to, you're nodding, yeah, someone trying to sort of attract abundance into their life, but they've got this sort of often unconscious beliefs as well that don't always surface up. So they also clear the unconscious ones. They do a great deal with past lives. I'm aware of, I don't know how many now, about 150 past lives that I've also cleared. And I think that has also taken me into the depths of sort of like consciousness of where we can be in the consciousness of having all those other different lives that we've experienced. A very typical one, I think, when you're on a spiritual journey is, for example, having the understanding of being persecuted. I think this is such a common one that a lot of us have to clear. So it presented with me very early on when I realised that I'd been like a white witch. I wasn't burnt at the stake, but I was drowned. And there was such a lot of fear in the early days of me really wanting to speak out my truth. I found it quite difficult. And once that was absolutely cleared, then I was in a position to be able to find my spiritual voice. And then that's when the channeling started to come in. And I had the confidence to be able to speak my spiritual truth as well, without having any feelings that, oh gosh, I'm going to be persecuted, I'm going to be harmed, I'm going to be destroyed, you know, anything of those kinds of thoughts, which of course is what happened in those past lives that we've had. So there's been a huge amount of clearing that I've actually, you know, experienced. But also what's interesting with the Zygons is that I'm learning more and more is that it never really ends. It's almost like you can get to a point where perhaps you feel a little bit more joyful. You can feel a little bit more relaxed in yourself. You can feel a little bit more, oh, I think I'm owning more of myself now. I feel more empowered. I feel as if I'm enjoying life. Life is good. It's good to be here. So there's all these different aspects that seem to come in more and more and more. But there always seems to be something else to do. There's always something else to clear. And I think in the early days, with my kind of mentality of sort of being in more dualistic experiences in my own consciousness, I always wanted to get, I know, I'll just get there and then I'll be better, you know, or I'll just get there and I'll feel fine. And of course, I realise every time you get there, there's always something else that follows that. It's ongoing. It feels as if it's infinite, not just through this incarnation, but it's infinite through all the other incarnations that you have as well. So that's something that the Zygons have also been helping me to do very much, is having a more expanded consciousness and looking at things like unity consciousness, much more unity consciousness. You know, we're moving now into a phase of our own journey, those that are aware anyway, of the need to come together with unity consciousness more. Is very much about coming together in groups, large groups. It's about raising the consciousness of the planet so that we're in a position of being able to change what isn't working. All those things that are not working, you know, we are in a position to be able to make a difference to that. And we can find ways to be able to introduce new systems perhaps into the way that things are working at the moment. So it's been very multifaceted, I would say, this experience that I've had with them. Huge different examples of healing. And then, of course, a few months ago, I started doing light language as well. So that's another aspect that also comes into the healing.
Yeah. A couple of comments from sort of Barbara, so we'll share those. Yes, indeed, I have had Zygon Healing, and it was very helpful and a good experience actually receiving the healing at the end of the session with Angelina. And then she's also said, because obviously I then talked about the childhood thing, but children do have a more natural connection with spirit and their soul, which lessens as we get older. I get what you're saying. Yes, we do. But I think maybe, I don't know. I think for me, we make agreements of experiences that we're going to have. And those experiences that we have can be really tough. But they are, for me, it's a gift that I've given myself so that I can then actually work through those to get to where I am today, tomorrow, and in the future. You were talking about, or if I get that to that point, the layers of the onion for healing is a perfect analogy for me, because, you know, sort of we deal with one layer, but we have to deal with layers in their right order. You know, you can't take out the middle before you've taken out the outer layers. And it's really important that we do it in the right order. Our body, our spirit, they know the order that is right for us. We can go to that and say, oh, actually, have we dealt with everything now? And then something wham will come in. No, you haven't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's something going on with me at the moment. And I know there's an aspect of me that actually isn't in me at the moment. I know she's still part of me, but she's actually off elsewhere, but she's being very, very well taken care of because of the traumas of my childhood. And there's just something going on there, which surprised me, because it was feeling that it should all be done in-house, if you like. But you know, but I love the fact that there is so much. And Barbara's just added another comment. The evolutionary spiral of consciousness over reincarnation, as we are gradually returning to the light and the light being that we really are. Absolutely.
Perfectly said.
Yeah. But the light being we really are, it's just a matter of the humanness accepting that. But we're also here to have the human experience. And it's really important that we have it, which is what You and I and so many other people who bring energies in their many different forms, we've actually had the experiences. We're here as proof that we've been through it, and you can come through it. So in the Zygon energy is what you're bringing through, and is supporting people. But the support for you, first and foremost, as with the energies that I work with, it's amazing what it's done with, the work I've done with myself, but it's accepting that fact about participating in that journey, isn't it? And not just expecting somebody else can do it for us.
Yes, absolutely. I think one of the things that I've also learned that's linked with that is sort of trying to get a balance, I would say, between what do I do for myself and then how much do I actually rely on other people. And I found it very difficult at one point to get that kind of balance, because I knew that at the same time I can reach out for support. And that was something I did learn to do over a period of years. Initially, I couldn't even ask support. I didn't know what my needs were. I got absolutely no idea. So I had to sort of understand what my needs were. And then after that, I was in sort of being able to ask for that. So that was a whole journey in itself, really. But then I also went through a phase of not asking anyone for anything, because I actually wanted to learn how to heal myself. And I knew that this was something that I'd come here to learn. I'd had so many illnesses, and some of them I'd managed to heal quite easily just by going to see a therapist. And then, as I've explained, I got to the point where it didn't seem to matter what I did, and it didn't matter what anyone else did either. It just wouldn't work. And like you're saying about the onions, it's like I was taking off the sort of superficial onions of what I needed to really get to the core of who I am and the core of myself. And I'd say that having all these illnesses have really led me to that journey of finding or slowly finding the core of myself so that I know who I am. But as I say, during that journey, there was this sort of imbalance between, do I ask for help with this, or can I do this for myself? And then flitting back and forth a little bit. And that's the humanness, I think, side of it that comes in, that we just have to accept, that maybe at the time when I was only doing it for myself, there were several people that said, if you were to just have some healing from somebody, you would get healed so quickly. And yet it didn't resonate. And it's so difficult to say to somebody, of course I could choose that, but I just know that my journey at this moment is I need to learn for myself. Yeah. And this was the journey I was on before the Zygons came. And I was there for probably about 3 or 4 years in that space, really trying to understand. That was when all the self-help came in and the self-care came in and all of those things, which all have been so very valuable to learn. And now I've sort of gone the other direction now, where I'm obviously just, passively sometimes receiving the healing from the Zygons, but also at the same time in communication with them to have deeper understanding as to why these things have materialized in the first place.
Yeah. So you've started working with others with it. So it is, you've got to that stage where it's bringing that energy. I'm assuming you're acting sort of like a channel. You're a connection between the Zygons and their box.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. It works just like that. I will be there with a client, and they might present with an issue, and then I just use an intuition basically to bring through what energies are going to be received, what intensity it's going to be, what duration it's going to be, what energy needs to be cleared, what thought forms can be cleared, what past lives can be cleared. You usually have about 12 to 15 different energies in any one session to be able to look at different aspects. So usually there's about 5 things that are actually clear during that time. So it's very, very thorough, it's very deep, and it works amazingly. absolutely amazingly. And there has been times, I think, when I'll just go on a little bit to explain a little bit about the light language, because I've had amazing experience with that as well. And the light language is something that I bring into the session as well at times. And it's usually just a few minutes. It's a language which is quite complex, the speaking of it. And it, like any light language, it touches your heart, it touches your soul. It completely bypasses the mind. So when I'm giving the light language, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know. I have no idea what's being said. Absolutely no idea. But I just channel it and I just give it. And it's a beautiful energy. Just to give an example of myself, I was doing some exercises and I was sort of doing a little bit of twisting like this. And I woke up the next day and I had pain in my mid-back. And I realised that I had twisted the bones slightly and there was a pain going up and down. I had it for quite a while, quite a few days. I didn't actually think to ask the Zygons for sort of healing at this particular time. And then I did. And they said, well, do some light language for the vertebrae, you know, for the spine. So it's usually 5 minutes. So I brought that through and then I went to listen to it. And I had this experience where I was sort of sitting and literally within a few seconds, I started to straighten my back up. I thought, oh, okay. And it's sort of like I was being taken over by this energy. And they were doing this sort of little bit of rocking back and forth like this. And all of a sudden there was a click. And it literally clicked into place. So that is what can happen instantly. It's instant healing sometimes with the light language. There was another time as well when I couldn't get to sleep. And it was about 2:30 in the morning. And I did all the usual things and it wasn't working. So I asked the Zygons, okay, can you please help me to get to sleep? They said, oh, do some light language. So I just did 1 minute's worth. And immediately after that, I found myself literally dropping into sleep. It was most remarkable. I've never had anything like that. I was so shocked that I sort of came out of it a bit and I said, gosh, that's incredible. I said, what have you done? And they said they had actually altered the brain waves, literally, in order to put me into a place of being able to sleep. So, and that was instant again, just after 1 minute. So I think the experience that I've also learning from this as well, where I've gone from this place of not being able to heal myself, being completely puzzled by it, doing everything I possibly can and nothing really working, to then having like mini miracles. And I needed to change my own consciousness to be in alignment, to be able to accept those mini miracles, that you can have them, that you can literally have healing where something can be healed instantly. It's been remarkable to sort of go from that place of being such puzzlement to going to a place of just, okay, you know, I'll surrender to this. I just let it happen. I believe it's possible, and it does. Yeah.
No, brilliant. I'm going to try that with light language and sleeping. I really am.
Yes, absolutely.
One last comment from Barbara, and I haven't had a chance to read it because I've been trying to listen to you. Yes, I absolutely agree. We all have many dramatic traumas from childhood that allow us to become stronger and more aware. Just meant that we should not underestimate the ability of children to participate in their own healing. Very evolved children are now incarnating. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are actually fraction over time. We'll go out time. So before we close, this has been fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing, Angelina. But is there anything that we haven't touched on that you feel that you'd like to mention before we actually close?
I think for that, I'd just like to say that for anybody that's listening, to just be very open, you know, just to be open to, this is what the Zygons say to me, be open to infinite possibilities and to trust hugely in your own healing, that it is possible. And I'd also say, whatever you are in your own journey, never give up. Never give up where you are at all, because anything is possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've just put your website up in the chat, which is www.angelinakedge.com. I will make sure that that is under the video on YouTube as well, so that if you want to connect with Angelina, please feel free to. We're not going into any sort of sales pitchy here. It's just a matter of if you're interested in investigating further, check out the website and feel free to to connect with her as well. Angelina, thank you so very much for joining us. And Barbara says thanks for all you have shared. Wonderful work and inspiration. Absolutely, and it's trusting those energies that and the feelings, trusting what we receive. And it's not always easy, but it's just because I don't know about you, it's the why me sometimes, and I have to correct myself and say, why not me?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. I know that one so well too.
Yes. Next week, we have a today's conversation for you. Speak up. 3 reasons to be your the fullest expression of yourself. And our guest is Catherine Yarborough. So I hope that you will consider joining us for that. And we have many other programs on Gift of Healing TV, the Intuitive Healing channel. Everything is free to watch, folks. giftofhealingtv.com. Angelina, thank you. Thank you to those of you that have been watching us live. Thank you, Silvana. Says thank you. Amazing interview. So thank you, folks. See you all again soon. Namaste. Thank you.